What's up? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Carrie Adam Storm, and today's special guest, Erik Knight, one of our franchisees, newly signed in, I believe, June, right? End of June, Erik?
Yes.
And what do? We did Burlington, North Carolina, and Chapel Hill Market.
That's right.
Talk to me real quick. How's that going? Where are we going first?
First location will be Burlington. It's the closest to where we live, so it'll be easiest to manage and get up and going and kind of be the benchmark for everything moving forward. So
awesome. Well, you and I were chatting yesterday, and you mentioned that you were watching our show, and so we figured we would take our only subscriber and put him on the air with us, whereby eliminating our fan base altogether, but hopefully enhancing our collective egos. So a couple questions for you this morning. Please, if you wouldn't mind, talk to us a little bit about what initially attracted you to ISI Elite Training.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's kind of a story, kind of interesting situation. I mean, I've always grown up as a gym rat, always involved in fitness. And like many of us, life happens. You have a family, you work your career, and your fitness life kind of gets put on the shelf for a little bit. So I try to stay engaged. As my kids got older, I was involved with coaching and tried to be involved in the things that they were doing just to find ways to still be fit. And I try to do my time at the big box gyms, but it wasn't really the level of engagement that I had wanted to have since I was very young. So it was difficult to balance. And, I had always been an entrepreneur. I dabbled in a couple spaces, real estate and some other types of work from home type businesses that I could never really grow because I always worked in corporate America. But, realistically, what happened this year, like many other folks, we had some downtime this spring, and a lot of us had time to really self-reflect where we were, got to smell the roses of life and realize what's important. And from that perspective, I really said to myself, do I want to keep doing what I'm doing the last 20 plus years for the next 20 plus years or so whenever I retire? And, I turned 48 in May, and I knew that, deep down in my heart, I was entrepreneurial minded. I just couldn't find the right scenario to make something happen that was a fruitful business that I would enjoy, that I'd be willing to put my time into, that would just make sense. And then, have the scenario where it was a system where I didn't have to be there, versus just creating a job for myself outside of having a job, right? So that was really how it all came to be. And, the evolution of being a coach into a business owner and how to spin that off into, something of those lines wasn't the right steps for me. I just couldn't find the right pieces. So I got frustrated and by chance started to look at some franchises, really looking for places for avenues for the family. And by chance came across ISI. And ironically enough, it was on a Facebook feed. As I was looking at some other franchises, I got a blast come through, which I responded to. It was quite catchy from the beginning, and definitely piqued my curiosity. And it's been pretty great. I think so far the discovery of the brand. There's always a lot of unknowns when you first have your first brick and mortar type facility, which for me is certainly new. But what I can say is, the team that has really stepped up to support the process has been really strong compared to some other franchises I've done due diligence with, and they've been there every step of the way. So it made me feel really comfortable stepping into this the first time with a different business model. I think, the attraction part of it for me was being comfortable stepping into this area was one, but the affordability was something that I weighed heavily, with other models being much steeper in investment costs. A lot of unknowns come with that usually. But it was definitely relatable for me. It was something I could see being in the environment I could enjoy. And, when you start talking about having businesses open and then all of a sudden you have to wait for a long rate of return, that also is somewhat not motivating for some investors too. Well, you don't want to pull out cash as fast as possible. You want the business to grow. The model here was a real healthy balance of investing, doing the right steps, and then being able to see a profit. So for me, all of those things, and then complementing the ability to supplement my retirement, I didn't have to stop working. I could stay engaged in the business and then even pass it on to my kids. So really all those reasons, it was just the right time, the right place, the right set of circumstances, to be honest.
Well, that's awesome. So correct me if I'm wrong, right now you have gone through, so you've signed a franchise agreement, you've gone through site selection. You've secured a location, you've signed an LOI. Have you signed a lease? Is the lease complete? You're still working on the lease?
Yeah, so actually it's kind of interesting. I've gone through all those, and ironically, I've looked back in my calendar to figure out when it was I sent that Facebook message to request information, because it feels
I can tell you. Hold on.
it feels like a long time ago, and it's really not. So we've gone through so much in such a compressed amount of time that it's really amazing. But we've gone through all the processes. We've done the real estate location finding. We've gone to all the steps that need to happen, and now we're getting our lease details lined up now, and we hope to be able to get our facility pretty much locked up, if not this week, probably within the next week or so. So we've really run through the system hard and focused, because we can see the vision at the other side of this. So.
All right, I can tell you it was April 26th, the day before Georgia reopened their gyms. How about that?
I was looking for like January, February, because it really.
You had 50 days from 45 days from the day we first talked.
Yeah.
So
great.
So all of that stuff's good, man. You led me right into the next question, Erik, which is, talk to us. How's everything going so far?
Yeah, I think, one of the questions I think most people will probably be interested is, why ISI, right? And I think for me, it was a turnkey system, and I envisioned it, and I have conversations with people. I'm like, when you go to McDonald's, and we shouldn't because it's not good for us, but if you go to any like franchise system, you don't see the franchise owner in the back flipping burgers, right? And for me, my vision was to have a business that ran itself with the right people and kind of oversee the business, to be a semi-absent owner. And for me, it was important to not come in and have to reinvent everything and trial and error. I wanted to be able to have a blueprint that I knew that if I stood with that blueprint and just executed the plan, that what I could bring to the table and help guide and lead the team and have the right pieces in place, that there'd be no reason for the system to not work. But I didn't want to be a slave to the system. So that was pretty much important for me. And I think one of the catchphrases that really resonated with me from the beginning was, building a community within a community. The more I thought about it, made a lot of sense. I've been involved, with local churches and volunteering time in the community with recreation and all different aspects in the community. But building a community within a community really was a cool thing to start thinking about, because I remember my time at fitness studios and different gyms. I'd go in, put my hood on, put my headphones on, and I did my workout, whether it was an hour or two. It was me, unless I needed somebody for a spot or something like that. So it wasn't really a sense of community. And I think we need that. We need to encourage one another. We need to help one another. And as I get a little wiser in my age, I think the whole transition of fitness as well is going that direction. So I found the timing also to be quite interesting. So I can relate to the product. I'm at a point where I can't do what I used to do when I was 20, but I definitely still want to act like I'm 20. And, I can see myself being a client. I could see myself being a member of an ISI elite training location if I didn't know anything about the franchise opportunity. So
I love that you bring that up. You and I got a couple of years on the other two guys on the call here. And I'm like you, man. I wake up every day. I'm like, wait, I'm not in my 20s anymore. And you slow down. So last question for you, and then we'll go to freestyle. You can invest your money anywhere, and you know this. I mean, you run a private office from your own home. Why invest in a franchise? Why invest in ISI?
Yeah, I think all of those reasons. I mean, there's other options out there in the world, and what I found was when I started to do my entrepreneurial research of how to step into this place, into this space, into this market, all those things you start looking at. When you compare apples to apples, it was quite easy for me to recognize where the other solutions fell short. Now, whether it was something that I created, I started looking at a real estate complex, building a sport-minded facility, because I developed camps and I was a coach. So I needed to put a facility together to have my own camp instead of renting out church gyms. So that, for me, right away, saw that it was really cost intensive to build a facility. You're looking at a couple $1 million potentially with the way you want to do it. And I really wasn't comfortable making that type of investment at one spot, right? So I looked at a couple other models and asking the bare questions, getting a sense of comfort of how the system and the franchise would support me going in, and just kind of gauging the level of experience with some other franchise reps and the regional developers. I just didn't have a comfortable feeling where they had to ask too many questions back at the home office. They didn't know, they had to get back to me, and even the geographic location for me was also a concern. You know, flying halfway across the country to get support, and then time zones, and having somebody that's right down the street like ISI for me. Those were all reasons why, you know, I felt like I was investing in the community as well. So a lot of that stuff, you know, the reasons I mentioned before, the turnkey package, the comfort level, the closeness, I think for me personally was a big benefit. But I think you need to ask the right questions, and I definitely challenged everybody and asked a lot of questions coming in, and you know, all of my questions were answered, and you know, I felt real comfortable with my decision. And once my boss, basically my wife, blessed the whole venture, there was no turning back. So I knew once she said yes, I couldn't turn around and second. I had to run for it as quick as I could before that yes became a maybe or a no. So that was also additional motivation.
Well, I'll tell you, Erik, after your line of questioning, nobody's been able to stump me thus far. So you asked every question that was possible to be asked, and very rarely do I get a new one. So you did a very, very good job going through.
Hope I added some value and didn't.
You taught me a thing or two. Let's put it that way. Well, want to thank you for coming on this morning and sharing your opinion, Storm or Adam. Before we wrap this thing up, you have any questions for Erik? Anything nice you want to say, or not nice you want to say? Whatever.
No, I think really the big thing that resonates for me with any franchisee, and it was Erik had such a clear understanding, is I always, you know, in the validation process, I need to know, like, it's huge for me to know what you want and why you want it, right? And so if you don't know that walking into a business, because a lot of people, especially with fitness, it's a cool business to own, but at the end of the day, like, it is a business, and people need to understand, you know, why are you stepping into this? And it can be for different reasons. There's no right answer to that, but you just need to know that, and then what do you want out of it? And from day one, Erik's, I mean, his vision has been super clear, you know, and so I think that makes a pulling versus pushing effect start to happen, to where your vision should always pull you, and he knows exactly where he wants to go, how he wants to do it. And when you have that clarity, I mean, I've mentored and coached and consulted a lot of business owners over the past 5-6 years, and that's probably one of the biggest things, that the ones that are struggling don't have a clear vision. Because when you don't have a clear vision, you don't have clarity of where you want to go, it's very hard to say no to other things, you know? So it's either, hey, does this pull, is this moving the needle forward to my vision, or no? It's a very clear yes or no. And it's easy to make decisions at that point. So, but yeah, super excited for Erik to continue to go through the process and watch him expand. So.
Yeah, you got training coming up in a couple of weeks. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, actually next week, the end of next week, we bring our team. We've onboarded our staff. You know, our structure is, you know, again, like Adam said, you know, we understand the playbook. We understand what some of those parameters are. And, you know, going in, you know, there may be a few people that have, you know, deep pockets where they're not concerned about the financials, but most of the people coming in, they're concerned and they're aware of what their limitations are. But I think the balance is understanding where and how you need to invest your money. And for me, it was important because, you know, the idea is not to be there 24/7. It's to have a system that runs. So it was important to really go through the hiring process, really look for people who I could really envision, you know, working very similar to me with goals, give them the vision of where I want this organization to go. And I'm creating the vision of an organization within an organization, so that there's career opportunities within the franchise expansions that I'll bring on and add on for them. So it's not a traditional gym job. This is a fitness space career opportunity for my, let's say, staff, so they can take their degrees and develop within the field that they enjoy. And that's the biggest problem. People want to do what they like to do, but they can't find a career path that they enjoy. But they also need the income. So they end up, like most of us, working in corporate America, making decent amount that will satisfy our quality of life, but we're not happy, right? So if I can create that from the ground, an environment where people want to be part of their career, they just need to figure out how to mold that business into a career opportunity. That's what I'm doing, and that's the vision that I'm creating for my people. And everyone's excited, and we're all looking forward to coming next week to kind of get this kicked off.
Awesome. Well, we are looking forward to hosting you, and sounds like you have a very, very clear set of directions as to what you are doing for you and your staff. So very excited to see the way that we develop. All right, before we get out of here, a couple things. First of all, I got a shout out to Storm Miller. Absolutely love this guy. Before we get to the weather, I want to humble brag on this guy real quick. I sent him an invite earlier, late last night, like 1 o'clock in the morning, to come help me set my fantasy football league, because I don't talk about fantasy football league, but I beat Zach Monroe in week 1. Ashley Wench, I'm coming for you in week 2. I got a team full of Tom Brady. I don't know what I'm doing. Storm's going to Zoom call with me and get me straight. Storm, we got some weather in Philadelphia, buddy?
I do. Today is supposed to be beautiful in Philadelphia. High is 75 degrees, but with real feel, temps are going to reach close to 80 degrees. I'll tell you right now, it was cold when I woke up this morning. It was 41 degrees when I woke up this morning and took the dog out. So fall and almost wintry weather is here at this point, and there was no adjustment. We went from high 80s and 90s, straight down to temperatures in the 70s and lows in the 40s. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. It's giving me headaches. And Erik, I just wanted to, kind of follow up on some of the things that Adam and Carrie have talked about. Wanted to say it was a pleasure working with you throughout the entire process. Very rarely, and I think Carrie can speak to this as well, very rarely do we get on phone calls with people who tell us what their next steps are going to be. Normally it's us having to remind them of what the next steps are. And every call that I got on with you and Carrie got on with you and even Nick, we were very impressed that you knew exactly the direction you wanted to head in. And for a guy with a coaching background and working in the line of work that you do, you're used to getting your pick of the litter. And I think I could speak on behalf of all of us that we're flattered that you chose ISI. Really looking forward to your future with the brand.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, part of it, again, was, I'm deep in faith. So I believed in the brand, what the brand stood for. I resonated and connected with Adam. I can see, I can really sense his passion from the business from the beginning. And you guys being onboarded as part of this entire process, it connected the dots. I mean, there was not any step of the way where I had to guess and do a lot of research on my own. You give us the runway to make our own decisions in a lot of areas, but you also guide us. So that's great. I mean, to hold true to the brand, iron sharpens iron. Like Carrie said, I try to ask the right questions, because this for me is it's not a hobby. It's not an option to fail. So we're going to be successful. So the best I can set us up for success as a franchise, as an organization, as a location, and even thinking about the staff members, that was part of it. And, there is no option for not succeeding. So having that mentality going in, I think I can communicate that to my team. And, as I've tried to help, they've only been with the purest intention to try to ensure everyone's success. So, I think Adam touched on that too, that, I asked the questions because I wanted to know what not to do and what to do, what were the expectations, the parameters, and try to work within that. But Carrie wasn't even sure if you show up today, Storm. I think it was a last-minute thing. And he asked me to prepare the weather. So as iron sharpens iron, I'm going to also raise the weather parameter to another level. So if you let me go with it, I'm going to give you the Erik version of the weather.
Let's go.
Hold on.
It's been a hot summer, but the cool fall temperatures are coming. While it seems we have weathered this year's unbelievable storm, I believe there are sunny days ahead. The sky is clearing, the future is bright, and definitely green skies ahead.
Yeah, I like it.
That being said,
I love it.